Well, good afternoon, everybody. This is Bill Costanzo, Livestock Guardian Dog Program Specialist at the AgriLife Center in San Angelo. Today we'll be going over our all Q&A session for March. I do want to thank our sponsors, Spot On Fence, and also the Sheep and Goat Predator Management Board for providing funding for the program. So if you're just tuning in for the first time, all Q&As, generally producers post their questions ahead of time to me, and I try to give them the best answer that I can live on Facebook once a month. If anybody's logging in and has any questions they'd like to try to get answered today, feel free to go ahead and post those in the chat, and I'll get to them as soon as our questions from producers that were already posted are answered. And so producers also, if you posted questions already and you have any follow-up information or questions, feel free to post those in the comments as well. So our first question is from Anita Ham. She has a 2-year-old Anatolian female and a 2-year-old Anatolian male. At the first of the year, they purchased a 3-month-old male Anatolian puppy. She said the older dogs didn't really give him much attention and spent much of their time in the pasture. Now that they're kidding, the older dogs are jumping through the pasture with the pup, and the nanny's kidding. And she's tried putting the puppy in the pasture that is not kidding, but she can't get him to stay. He's bonded with other goats. And so recently, the 2-year-old Anatolian female attacked the puppy at the throat, and she said that he'll be okay, but she's wondering how to help this situation out. It's the first puppy that they've brought new into the herd. And so I guess, Anita, my first thing would say, anytime there's any aggression, I would remove, the dog that's causing that problem and probably kennel them for a few days. And then each time that it happens again, I would increase that kenneling time. I don't tolerate any type of aggression, from our dogs, whether it's, for resource guarding or against another dog that, is on one of our ranches. I definitely don't tolerate anything like that from them. When you kennel a dog for bad behavior, they should just have their feed, water. Somebody should clean the pen, but no positive interaction whatsoever. We don't talk to the dogs that are in kennel jail, I guess we could call it. Until they're ready to leave and go back out working, again, they don't get any type of positive behavior. And so, make sure that nobody else stops by the kennel. If you've got kids or any ranch workers or anything like that, and gives the dogs any type of positive attention or leftover sandwiches or anything like that from lunch, they need to understand that that's not a place that they want to be. And eventually they do figure it out after being in the kennel for a few times and not getting any rewards for being there. The other thing, that I would say is that, you need to acclimate, even though they've been introduced, you need to acclimate your puppy more with your older dogs. It sounds like your female is probably the dominant dog in the group at this point. And so she's the one that you probably mainly need to work with, before things get any more out of hand than they already have. She most likely sees that puppy as a threat, either to her dominance in the group, or just as a general threat to the livestock that her and the male are protecting. And so, normally what I recommend in these kind of things is, to have all the dogs in a pen, have the dogs that have been there at the ranch should probably be tethered up, or somebody else having them on a leash, and then the new dog is brought in on a leash so that they can, that you can control the situation, so that in case any aggression starts, the dogs can be pulled apart before anything, gets out of hand and anybody gets severely injured. once that kind of takes place several times, maybe over a week, it doesn't have to be very long, for 15 to 20 minutes. You do this acclimating and training the dogs to get along with each other. The next thing I would do is, your older dog should be tethered up still. The young puppy loose in the pen with you. Um, you know, Petting the dogs, talking to the dogs, reassuring everybody that everything is okay. If that's good and you've done that for probably a week, then I would move to the next step of all the dogs loose together. And that's probably where, if there's going to be an issue again, that's probably the stage that it's going to happen at. And so if it doesn't, you're good to move on to the next stage, which would be introducing either feed or some livestock into the mix. And then, finally at the end, having feed in the mix, livestock in the mix, all the dogs are together in a pen, and then eventually everybody just goes out. And usually, by that point, if there have been any issues, you can hold at one of those stages and spend some more time there working with the dogs and showing them that it's okay that, the young puppy is there and that there's feed there and there's livestock there, or whichever point, you may have to pause at. The biggest thing is to, just take everything slow, and you really need to acclimate the dogs together more before the puppy just gets to go out and patrol with the other two older dogs. So if you have any more questions, feel free to message me on Facebook or call me or send me an email, and I'd happy to work with you some more if there's a problem at any of those points as you kind of go along. Our next question is from Susan Swales. She's got a 1-year-old Commodore, has learned that he can get underneath her woven wire fences almost everywhere. She put a yoke on him, which has kept him from going under. Occasionally he gets the yoke off but stays in the field. And so her question is, can the yoke be removed because he's learned not to go under the fences? Well, I guess that depends on how long it's been since he's gone underneath the fence. Generally, what we do is start with any sort of training aid. It stays on a dog for at least a month, because you need to stop that behavior, and they need to forget about whatever that bad behavior is that they're doing, and it generally takes some time for that to happen. After a month, if it's a yoke or if it's a dangle stick or a drag or whatever it is that we're doing, we take those off and see how the dogs are doing for a few days. And if there's no more issues, hey, then we're good, and we go on to the next thing that, a adolescent dog is doing wrong. If they dig out again or they start chasing livestock again, the training aid goes back on them again, and it's on for a month again. We have not had to do anything more than 3 months. In the past. Now, that's not to say that, it may not take some dog out there 6 months of having a yoke on or having a dangle stick on or some other device to stop doing some sort of bad behavior. But in our experience, normally, by 3 months, they've given up, trying to dig out, for instance, and they just go on to doing something else. So that would be my recommendation. If it's been 2 or 3 days, I would just leave it off. If the dog's not digging out, they may have already learned, hey, I can't get out of here if I try to dig, and so they'll move on to some other, adolescent behavior usually. But I would leave it on, like if they dig out, again, and I would just put the yoke back on for a month and then take it off and kind of see where you go with it. So, folks, if you don't know what a yoke is, we have, or how to make one, we have some fact sheets on our website with kind of step-by-step on the size, PVC pipe to use, and how to make them adjustable and all that kind of stuff, along with stuff about dangle sticks and drags are also listed on the website in fact sheet forms. So our next question is from, I hope I'm going to pronounce your name correctly, ma'am. I believe it's Ivy. She has a 3-year-old Anatolian male. 4 weeks ago, she got an 8-week-old male Great Dane puppy to be a pet. She did do some slow introductions like I normally recommend. And at that time, the Anatolian was pretty neutral and just kind of curious about the puppy. However, the puppy, being a puppy, wants to play with the Anatolian, and she's kept him on a leash, but it doesn't stop the puppy from being playful and lunging at the Anatolian every time that they go for a walk, and she can tell that the Anatolian is uncomfortable with that situation. Oh, she has another pet dog, and that dog has been doing a great job of helping correct some of the bad puppy behavior. And some folks on a pet training forum had also suggested maybe just letting the puppy loose with the Anatolian to help him teach some manners also. But when she lets the puppy loose with the Anatolian, the puppy basically doesn't stop bugging the Anatolian, and now her guardian dog has kind of formed a grudge against the puppy. He's displaying some hostile signs, maybe being aggressive to the puppy even when unprovoked. And she says that she's verbally corrected the Anatolian Shepherd, but she notices that there's some just subtle aggression that's starting to happen on a regular basis, and she doesn't want that to escalate anymore. So now she's only letting the Great Dane puppy and the Anatolian, kind of interact across a fence. But she's worried that when the Great Dane puppy is an adult, that the Anatolian, maybe continue to be aggressive towards the puppy. And she's just trying to figure out how to train the puppy to, leave the Anatolian alone, or maybe not be, so crazy and running around and just being a general puppy. And so, ma'am, I guess, basically what I say is, your Anatolian your Anatolian is doing what it's supposed to do. Its job is to protect your livestock and to protect your property, and that's what the dog is doing. It sounds like he sees this puppy as a potential threat either to the livestock or to the property, and so that's why he's probably showing some of this aggressive behavior. Also, I'm sure the Anatolian sounds like he's an older dog. He's at least 3, so he's pretty much settled down. He's not in the playful mode anymore, and so when it kind of comes down to it, I guess what I would say is you need to go back to taking things slow and really working with that puppy first, to try to burn off as much of that puppy energy as you can, taking him on walks, playing with him. And when he's tired out, that's when I would then take him out and work with the Anatolian Shepherd more. Once that puppy is kind of worn out, and instead of maybe pulling on the leash all the time, if the puppy's just walking with you, that's usually a good sign that they're getting tired, and that's when I would take him out and introduce him to the Anatolian Shepherd some more. I definitely would not just let the Great Dane puppy go out there. It's one thing with your other pet dog. It sounds like the other pet dog you have is teaching that puppy some submissive behavior, but I don't think it would be good to just let him out there with your Anatolian Shepherd, because since your Anatolian is a livestock guardian dog, they tend to not like other dogs just coming into their territory a lot of times, and so that could lead to some injury or even death of your Great Dane puppy, and it really wouldn't be your Anatolian's fault, because the dog's only doing what it's supposed to do, which is guard your property and your livestock. So that would be my recommendation. Keep the puppy on a leash all the time so that you can control him. If the puppy starts to get real rambunctious and want to lunge toward the Anatolian Shepherd, or if the Anatolian just gets up and walks away, don't let the puppy continue to follow. Pull the puppy back, and you need to discipline the puppy, probably not the Anatolian as much, because again, he's just doing his job. So that would be my recommendation to you. If you have any more questions or you comments or anything, feel free to send me a message, and I'm happy to work with you some more about that, or recommend a canine behaviorist that you might be able to talk to also. So I don't see any other questions in the comments today. So I think we're going to wrap up this Q&A session at this point. Again, I do want to thank our sponsor, Spot On Fence. They've been great to work with us, and we are working with them on a new collar for livestock guardian dogs that should be out sometime this year, hopefully. Again, I want to thank the Sheep and Goat Predator Management Board for providing funding for the program. And our next Q&A should be on Thursday, April 4th at 2 p.m. again. So, if you didn't get your questions answered today, feel free to keep up with our Facebook page. I'll have a post coming out in another couple weeks that'll be asking for producer questions again for April. So thank you everybody for tuning in today. If you have any other questions, like I said, feel free to contact me here at the AgriLife Center. Thank you very much for watching.